Hi, welcome to SF Beta On Air, the voice of Silicon Valley. This is Christian Perry, and I'm joined today with John Leblanc, Head of Developer Relations for PayPal. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
PayPal is one of the most exciting big tech companies in the world today, and it's a remarkable success story because it's been doing so much differently from the years of its darker past, shall we say.
Right.
Um, Talk a little bit more about what inspired you to join PayPal and some of the efforts that you lead on their team.
Sure. I definitely start off by talking about some of the things that I'm doing. I do lead developer evangelism on this team for PayPal for North America. We're really a global team effort, and it's all around changing sentiment in the company. A little under 2 years ago, I joined X-Commerce, which was PayPal's initiative to consolidate all of the tech properties within eBay all under one. Since that time, it's kind of split back towards its parent company. So PayPal has their own evangelism team. Same thing with eBay and such. It's a much easier way for us to just focus a lot of attention on the products themselves. Now, when I first was going to join PayPal, I didn't really see at first when I was looking externally what they would have to offer internally. I thought they were a big giant that hasn't changed in years. But after spending a lot of time at the company, talking with the individual groups, what I realized is that all the work that they're doing is all based off of a reinvigorating the company on trying to really give back to the community, and they spend a lot of time as polling developers, polling the people that use their services, the people that hated their services, and asking them what they wanted, what they needed, and that was a reinvigoration efforts, and was one of the reasons why I joined, because they are trying to change, and internally within the company you absolutely see this. An old way of thinking is just going out the window, and all the people like myself, the big pains in the asses of the company that are very critical of the products, are just keep being hired.
What's the chain of command from a person you talk to at a conference to the good feedback that you receive to the good feature that gets implemented based on that person's opinion?
Sure. So this is actually the one really amazing thing that's great at this developer network. I've worked on plenty of developer networks in the past for other companies. This is the only one where the evangelism team is a core piece of the engineering puzzle. So basically, as products are being pushed out, any new innovation of the company comes through our groups. We review the products, make sure that they're on par with what the developers are asking for, what the new initiatives are. Basically, that is a quality product being produced, and this allows us to talk externally about it and to work with it ourselves. Now, when we're working with external developers who are giving us feedback, and this happens all over the place, where we have people at conferences, at tables, that'll just come by and say some of the features that they're really looking for, or through GitHub, our GitHub repositories, or etc. And so what we do is we work as a bridge into the company for the engineering groups. We'll take that feedback and send it directly to the engineering teams. This is one method that we'll send direct feedback throughout, where it needs to be application review, legal, engineering. And then on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, I'll consolidate a lot of this feedback and send it through to a much larger engineering effort so that they can see what the sentiment is externally. Now, all of this sentiment and all this direct feedback is what drives the roadmap for the new product revisions.
And how fast of an iteration cycle are you on right now?
It depends. We're definitely, there's a lot of groups that are built on agile methodology approaches, so you're looking at several week releases. Right now, what you're seeing on major product releases, as we take our new RESTful APIs and rebuild them and give them feature parity to a lot of our classic APIs, you're seeing new major features being released every month or so. And that's been what's been happening in the past. And then Besides that, we work on internal GitHub repositories, work external GitHub repositories. So if you actually follow a lot of the PayPal repos for the software development kits or any of those engineering efforts, you'll see pushes multiple times daily.
Great. Where are you focusing your open source efforts?
A lot of it's built off of our new RESTful APIs. So this is the new way for developers to really start working with the services. It's really getting us on par on where we should be in the industry, how developers and how web engineers tend to work. Now, utilizing the same open source stack, we use OAuth 2 and OpenID Connect for our authentication and authorization technology for our RESTful APIs, for our identity initiatives, and really for anything else that we're doing at the company. So you're seeing a lot of pushes off of those two main realms.
Where would you like to see yourself in a year or two?
Ideally, so the best feedback that I got externally when I was going to conferences that, we're not sure what's happening at PayPal, but we think it's good. We think something good's happening. What I'd love to do is build a deeper mindshare in communities, because I only took over leading this team a month or two ago. And what I'm realizing is that there's certain areas of the country in North America that we just aren't strong in, that we just don't have enough people in, or we just don't have enough technical mindshare in. I definitely want us to be involved in these communities a lot deeper, and just in the engineering efforts that are going on, because every realm around North America is so divergent in the technology offerings and the startup offerings and the incubators and everything that they're trying to do. It's really, I just want to be better involved, and I want our entire evangelism team to be in the same boat.
So you're really talking about a community marketing strategy as one of your key principles.
Yeah, think of it community marketing at the same time as a developer offering. So one of my key points of contention with a lot of companies that go in this space is that they will go to conferences and give sales pitches. And that's why our developer evangelism team is all based off of engineering backgrounds. So myself, a comp sci background, everyone that we're hiring comp sci backgrounds or web engineering backgrounds or something where they've actually worked in different spaces, where they're actually engineers first. And our rule of thumb is that you're a part of the community, you're a developer, you're open source engineer, and then at the very end, you're a PayPal employee. So it's more important for us to be a part of the open technology realm than it is for PayPal to be deeply ingrained in there. We need to be a part of the thought process of thought leadership, as opposed to being salespeople, because that's not what we are.
And is that the kind of advice you'd give to other companies that want to get more involved in the conference circuit?
Yeah, definitely. So myself, speaking from an engineering perspective, me going to conferences, as soon as I hear a sales pitch, I check out. I'm gone. You're not going to get any more attention from me. But if you actually take a company and you bring them out to a conference where they talk about an open technology that they're working on, or that their company is building on top of, giving lessons on the things that they've gone through. Like, for instance, you have an open technology realm that's maybe talking about building on top of different services that they've been working on, but maybe they're getting a whole lot more traffic than the vast majority of the community is used to, and giving a couple of lessons off of how they're dealing with that might be much more valuable than saying, "Oh, use our product because it's great," and no one's going to listen to you otherwise.
You're working on a pretty major conference yourself, BattleHack.
Oh yeah. So this is one of our big efforts at the company. We wanted to be deeply involved in those startup scenes, in the development scenes, and I've been doing hackathons since my Yahoo days back in 2006, 2007, when we were doing HackUs and our hackathons over there, and I haven't stopped for this entire time, and it's just a good way of getting a sense of the pulse of the developer community. And we're doing 10 events, 5 in Europe and 5 in the U.S. In the U.S. it's Miami, Washington, Seattle, Austin, and New York. and those will be coming up. So our first one's in New York on the 20th, July 20th to 21st. And really what we're trying to just get a sense of what developers want of the technology, building something that's interesting on top of some of the open source partners that we're bringing in that are helping us contribute prizes or APIs, and really just trying to get better ingrained in the community.
How's the response been so far?
It's been good. We've been getting some great feedback. The only problem is people are unsure of how to get the Axe trophy through customs or through on the plane. So our Axe trophy is actually a battle axe. It's a fairly big size battle axe, quite sharp. It's real. So right on the website it says good luck getting that through the TSA or through customs, and I think that's the biggest problem that people are coming up with, and that's the thing but they love it otherwise. And then the overall prize is great as well. So in Europe, they really want to drive towards the for good aspect. In the U.S., we're finding a lot more people that are driving towards the $100,000 grand prize. So it really depends on the region.
And now that you've seen startup regions from a global perspective, do you find that that's a common trend? I mean, do certain regions have different attitudes than others as a whole?
Absolutely. So a lot of the ones we deal with are obviously in Silicon Valley, and you get a huge tech focus over here. So the vast majority of companies that come out here and are based here, you kind of get this Silicon Valley bubble type of technique where you see they're driven towards the technology here, but they don't really understand the perspective outside of the valley. I see that time and time again, but they're amazing technologies. Now, if you go somewhere like Toronto, you'll see a lot of biomed startups coming out of incubators like Mars, for instance. And then you have the gaming industry in Montreal. You have a medical industry up in the northeast of the U.S. I mean, all these different industries lead to completely divergent startup technologies, and it's just kind of amazing to see what each region gives. But when we were first looking at startup regions, and I was working with a couple of these different companies that are interested in promoting education for underprivileged kids or for heavily urban areas. What I'm noticing is that those areas completely overlap the major startup regions in the world. It's kind of amazing that these areas where things will just be horrible living conditions and breed startups that want to change what they're doing. And it's amazing to see that correlation is a complete map overlay startup region to areas of underprivileged families.
Can technology solve global poverty?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think technology can be a part of it. What I've noticed is that in a lot of areas, technology is shown as the be-all, end-all of everything. But in my years of doing hackathons and events and conferences and just talking with people, what I'm realizing is that these different realms have a lot of information to give back, a lot of good to give back. So you get the best teams that you really see in hackathons now are the diverse teams, the people that come from completely different walks of life. And it's the same thing with every different technology realm. So for instance, at a recent hackathon I was at Angel Hack Toronto, one of the winners, they built a wearable device that can monitor heart rate and actually determine if you're going to have a heart attack about an hour before you were going to have a heart attack. It's kind of an amazing thing, and they won the hackathon. And it's rare to see something like that is just going to be an amazing idea. And they came from different walks of life. And in order to solve major problems like world poverty, that's what you need. You need a diverse team that isn't just technology focused, but has these different ideas that all contribute back to that global effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think what upsets a lot of people in Silicon Valley is you have, Peter Thiel's mansion with an indoor pool and like literally butlers, and 6 miles away you have West Oakland where kids don't have enough money for food. And
Yep.
it's like, even forgetting about the rest of the world, even forgetting about solving the global challenges, how can Silicon Valley create its own meritocracy so that you have enough money and food and education to succeed if you're driven to?
I think it's the same thing with how you target a lot of technology efforts. So, for instance, women in tech events that we've been contributing back to for a while, that a lot of companies contribute back to. There's been a lot of talk that the need is to target young girls who are just starting in the potential career. So you're looking at early high school where you're really starting to target them. And I think to affect change, you have to start early, and you have to teach people that they can affect change in the world. It's really up to them, and it's before a lot of the real world crap just comes in and squashes their soul, if you would. It's the same thing with being in corporate environments for too long. People say that you just get into the corporate mindset where your sense of idealism, your sense of innovation just goes out the window, and you're just collecting a paycheck. It's the same thing. You just want to target people and build them up from when they're young to be just innovators, and that's how you change things. You give people the tools and the belief that they can change things.
Do you see much of that going on in the Bay? Do you know any organizations that you could refer people to?
So there are, besides all the women in tech events, those are great for targeting just more women entrepreneurs in the technology realm. But then there's a couple of definitely a couple that have been U.S. wide. So if you look at all the efforts that companies like Change.org are working towards, if you look at a lot of the underprivileged areas that are being worked on within the technology realm for teaching technology to underprivileged kids, those are probably the best ones that I've seen. There are a couple around.
Has PayPal considered like partnering with One Laptop Per Child?
We've actually looked at a couple that have been kind of interesting and being mentors for that type of realm. And if it were to come down to it, it would be where we would actually do a wide-ranging effort. It would be people like myself, other engineers who could just contribute back time and not PayPal specific, and it would be driving technology because it needs to be taught, not because we want to do anything as a company, but because it's the right thing to do.
Because it's the right thing to do. Like how Mark Zuckerberg teaches a middle school class each week on entrepreneurship. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But that's amazing, and that's exactly what it is. You have some of the most brilliant minds in the world in the valley, and once you get to that level where you feel like you've accomplished quite a lot with your career, then people start to really look outwards into what they can do for the rest of the world. And it's things like that where you have just people who want to contribute back just to do it. And that's what we've done in the past. I've given classes like that myself just because I've enjoyed it. I love working with people with different perspectives, and that comes from might come from age, from demographic, from all these different walks of life, because everyone thinks differently. It's amazing to see how technology is different depending on how you perceive it.
You know, altruism doesn't have to come at the cost of a business model. And for instance, PayPal is a global leader in mobile payments. So, like right now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're helping like fishermen, fishing wives in India make sales with their mobile phones, right?
Right, there's a lot of initiatives like that going on around hackathons and a lot of startup efforts in developing countries and countries that might not have the payment reach.
Talk a little bit more about mobile and where you see that going in terms of online payments.
Well, if you look at a lot of the efforts that we're really doing right now, you'll see that all of our new products that we're pushing out are mobile first. It's like every other company out there. I can sit here and I can say that mobile is the future. Mobile is everything that we're doing. But I mean, that's what everybody has been saying for years now.
It's the
It's
new.
it's just a part of who we are. You have to be mobile centric, whether that be through responsive HTML5 design techniques or whether that be native development. You have to have these offerings. It's just part of who what every company needs to have and needs to be. But at the same time, once you look outside of the U.S., once you start looking outside of North America, into countries that use mobile differently, India being one of them, Indonesia being another, you really see how things have to be done a lot differently. You can't impose the will of one country on another just because this is how it works here. For instance, when I was in Indonesia several years ago, I was in Jakarta, and I was going around, and people were telling me that the way that they work there is they'll buy an unlocked iPhone for something like $800 US, and then $700-800, something like that, and then the data plans are so expensive that they have a feature phone, and the feature phone is what they do a lot of their work off of. So at the same time that you're targeting a lot of these smartphone techniques, you also have to be targeting different ways of pushing commerce. So it's just a matter of really having people in the region instead of taking people from different regions and dumping them in there. You have to have people that really understand what each country is going through and how to target each country.
Interesting. Changing the subject before we close,
Mhm.
um, I commend PayPal's efforts to do a tremendous amount of outreach, engaging with existing technology communities and also creating your own technology communities through events like Battle Hack.
Mhm.
But you do participate at Angel Hack as well.
Correct.
So for other startups in your, at your level, global, well-funded, wanting to do more to bring the community in through their doors, what are some things they can do to just get that conversation going? I think a lot of times there's like a lot of fear and uncertainty and paranoia about saying too much or being too open. Is that really true though?
I think I heard an old adage about that. If you can't talk about your product and iterate fast enough and if you can't really talk about it to that degree, then it's really not worth building. Because you can rally support around it. You can, if you really are that involved, you can build it. I think a lot of what I've learned in working in this industry is that you'll have these competitions that are driven by marketing and sales that always say that the developer products, let's say within Square, within a Braintree, within PayPal, that we're at odds with each other all the time. But I'm a developer, and I love talking with other developers working at these companies and just talking about the open products and all the issues that you're running into. That's the best part. And every company that I've worked with in the past, you'll find that the developer communities just want to share and want to talk about their experiences. And it doesn't matter what company you end up working at the end of the day, you really are just building out this interesting, cool technology. And for me, it's the challenge of it all. I love and this is actually one of the big reasons I joined PayPal was because all this re-engineering effort was challenging. All this re-engagement effort was difficult, and I don't like to be bored. So, at the end of the day, I think startups need to engage with their community. If you're building out something in a closed box, then you're going to go off on some weird paths that your community doesn't even want. It's a really good way of building your product around what people actually want to use.
And any sneak previews of what's coming next from PayPal?
If you definitely look at developer.paypal.com, that's going to have some interesting stuff. If you want to see the cool stuff that's going on within our communities, take a look at the Battle Hack series at battlehack.org. If any of the community want to join, you'll really see a lot of the new efforts coming out of the payment space within card readers, point of sale devices, and everything to kind of enable commerce everywhere. And that's going to be the interesting stuff.
Mobile commerce is a brave new world, and John LeBlanc, thank you for being a part of the revolution and sharing your time to talk about it with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
John Leblanc, developer relations for PayPal. Uh, PayPal will be participating at SF Beta Enterprise and B2B Edition on October 6th. I'm sorry, August 6th, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.